All right. Good morning. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings, live every Wednesday and Friday at 11 a.m. I love these 10 game slates that we've been having because it's very easy. 10 games, one pick for each game, exactly 10 picks like you see on the title of the video. Before we could get into today's picks, just got to do a recap from last stream, which finally, we had a good day on a Friday. I feel like every single bad day we've had been a Friday. We've had some brutal days on Fridays, but last stream was awesome. We had another 10 picks. We got 7 of those 10 to cash. We ended Friday's stream up 4.29 units. That brings our entire profit on the entire year, specifically from these streams, not tracking anything else but these streams, up 10.04 units. ROI of 4.24%. I know that ROI doesn't sound amazing, but you got to keep in mind the volume. We're at over 130 picks, almost 240 picks at this point. We're 118 for 119, so almost batting exactly 500. But with all the plus money bangers, that's why we're up 10 units. Let's hope we can continue the success today. And then, of course, make sure you're subscribed to the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Share the stream with your friends. Let's get these bangers in front of as many people as possible. And then also get questions, comments, everything in the chat. I already see a bunch of people in here, which I appreciate. Scott, good morning. Manuel, good morning from Portugal. That's great. I guess not morning for you. Tonight, Ty Shumbaland, yes, let's get some money. David H., what's the pesto play of the day? I do like pesto. It's actually Pepto play of the day, but we'll forgive the typo. Norlando, yes, let's continue the hot streak as it cools down outside. So, all right, let's get into all of the picks for today. The first play that we're going to lock in here is in the Timberwolves versus Pistons game. We're taking Anthony Edwards under 4.5 assists. This is at plus 114 odds at DraftKings. So technically, this was a play that I found using the Betting Pros app, but the play was for under 5.5 assists. Those odds weren't super favorable, and Betting Pros projects him to have 4 assists. So I just decided to go with the better odds and get the plus 114 because it still fits within the projections of Betting Pros. And I will be honest, heading into this game, before I looked into injury news and stuff, I was really, really high on Anthony Edwards' points. Like pumping him up to 30 plus points was something that I really liked, but I was scared off by his injury designation, so I ended up not playing that at all. That's not even something that I'm taking on my own. I locked it in and then I cashed it out just to be completely upfront. So Edwards was questionable heading into Sunday's game with a left knee contusion. Of course, he ended up playing that game and he played 38 minutes. But now for this game, he's listed as questionable with left knee tendonitis. So it's a different injury, and the tendonitis makes me a little bit more concerned than a contusion. Contusion is mostly just pain tolerance. Tendonitis can be something that's an ongoing thing. And for this game tonight, they're playing the Pistons, and they're 11.5 point favorites. So yeah, Edwards always does play through questionable tags, so he probably will suit up. But I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play his normal allotment of minutes. Definitely not high 30s like he did last game. But with all that said, it's still too juicy of a matchup for me to fade his points. So instead, I really do like fading his assists. And I actually really do like this play. It's not just me locking it in because I had to have a pick for this game. I actually really do like it. He's been a much better playmaker this year, admittedly, but he's only gone over this number in 4 of his last 10 games. Under is still the play here, especially if he ends up playing, excuse me, not as many minutes as he normally does, and especially if he does score a lot, then he obviously won't be playmaking as much. So, excuse me, I do like this one a lot. That's our first play. Space Cram, sorry for starting without you. I thought you were here. It's not my fault. All right, next game. This is in the Magic versus Hawks game. We're taking Paolo Banchero, 30 plus points, plus 120 odds at DraftKings. Now, this is more in line with my typical betting strategy, the ultimate flip-flop method, fading recent results type of play. Paolo has not been good for the past 4 games, so this is going to end up being our pesto. Just kidding, our Pepto play of the day. This one's going to feel gross. Just take a shot of Pepto down with it because it's not going to feel great. But I really do like this play. And prior to this 4-game stretch, Paolo was awesome. Then he had a 4-game cold streak, but I think you can very easily explain A, when he was hot, and B, when he was cold. In these past 4 games, yes, he's only scored more than 20 points one time, but you got to look at the matchups. The 4 games he went under, Timberwolves, best defense in the NBA, Heat, Thunder, Knicks, all 4 of those defenses are in the top 11 in the NBA, and 3 are in the top 10. And not only that, but they're defenses that are specifically tough against forwards like Paolo Banchero. That is not the case tonight against the Hawks. It's about as juicy as a matchup as you can possibly get for a forward against the Atlanta Hawks. They're listed as the second easiest matchup in the NBA for power forward point props. And over the past month, they have given up the second most points per game specifically to power forwards. Now, Franz Wagner has been hurt for a while. He's still out for the Magic in this game. And with Franz off the court, Paolo sees his usage rate go up from 30 to 34%. That 4% increase in usage rate is A, the second highest on the team, and B, a usage rate of 34%, that would be third in the NBA, only behind Embiid and Luka Doncic. Last time these two teams played, Paolo hung 35 on the Hawks. I think he's going to once again be able to have a good game tonight. Hopefully he can come through, cash our banger. Before we get into our next pick, I want to talk to you about the Discord from Betting Pros. If you're looking to up your sports betting game, look no further than the Discord community at Betting Pros. You can find it, bettingpros.com/chat. Link to it is in the description of this video as well. In the Discord, Betting Pros has gathered a team of expert handicappers providing you with free, emphasis on free picks for basically any sport you can possibly think of. The NFL, we're in the middle of the playoffs when things get the juiciest in the NFL. Free picks for that. NBA, which I've been giving out. NHL. And then you're looking at player props, live betting, futures. Anything you can ask for, you can find in the Discord. You can connect with people like yourselves, who I'm assuming are sports betting enthusiasts. And then you can elevate your own strategy as well. So not only tail picks, but also just become a sharper, smarter sports bettor yourself. So join us in the Discord. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. Next up, our third pick for today's slate in the Spurs versus Celtics game. We're taking Jayson Tatum, 4+ made 3-pointers, plus 135 odds at DraftKings. Now, for this game specifically was another game which injuries made it tough to find a pick. All of Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and Jrue Holiday, they're all listed as questionable, and they're all legit injuries. It's not like, oh, are they going to rest because the Celtics are on a back-to-back or anything like that. So those 3 injuries, possible guys not playing, plus the fact that the Celtics are 16-point favorites. I didn't want to touch any of those 3, even though both KP and Derek White do have pretty juicy matchups against the Spurs. With that said, I do like backing Tatum because A, he's got no injury designation, and B, if a couple of those guys, 2 of 3, 1 of 3 end up sitting, that's just going to mean a higher usage rate for Tatum. In the Spurs defense, they're bad basically everywhere. One area in which they are particularly bad is allowing 3-pointers to the forward position. They're listed as the best, the easiest matchup for 3-point props, specifically for small forwards. Over the past month, they've given up the second most made 3-pointers to small forwards. And 6 of the last 7 small forwards have all gone over their 3-point prop over-under. Very, very juicy matchup for someone like Tatum. And what I like about Tatum, he just jacks up threes. He shoots a ton. In his past 10 games, he's attempting over 9 3-pointers per game. Now, I filtered out that Bucks game because he only played the first half, and I think he played less than 20 minutes. That's obviously an extreme outlier. Maybe he only plays the first half tonight, but it's not because they're getting smoked like that Bucks game. And not only does he attempt, again, over 9 per game, but against the Spurs, these are going to be basically wide open, high value attempts that he's getting against the Spurs. Tatum, this is a number that he's hit in 4 of his last 5 games, and he's hit it in 5 of 7. And in that span, that includes a game against the Spurs on New Year's Eve when he hit 5. I think he could do so once again tonight. We just need him to get us to 4, and we're cashing out this plus money banger. Next up, our fourth pick, Bucks versus Cavaliers game. I'm taking Donovan Mitchell over 33.5 points. This is minus 108 odds, best offered per the Betting Pros consensus line. Now that we have a Pepto play of the day, we also might have to add the squarest play of the day because that's probably going to be this one. Now, I don't look at what any other people play before I do my own stuff. So I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be on Donovan Mitchell. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just assuming because of how good he's been in the matchup that a lot of people are going to be on Donovan Mitchell. And this is probably going to end up being super square, but it's just such a good play that obviously I'm locking it in, and it's something that I really like. Last two games, 45 points against the Nets, 34 against the Bulls. In that Bulls game, in which he scored 34, is the toughest matchup for guards to score because of Alex Caruso. And he still hung 34. Granted, prior to that, he had gone under in 4 straight games, so it's not like he's just been on fire the past 10 games or anything. But in terms of this play tonight, this is a play, A, because the Cavs are still so banged up. Mobley and Garland are still out. Now Karis LeVert is questionable. Donovan Mitchell just puts up a ton of attempts, and this is probably the best matchup you can get against the Bucks defense. You always want to take your guards against the Bucks. They're just a complete travesty on defense. Technically, Donovan Mitchell's listed as a shooting guard, but we all know he's the guy that brings the ball up the court. He's the main ball distributor, ball handler, everything for the Cavs. And on the year, the Bucks have given up, given up the most points per game in the entire NBA to point guards, and the 4th most over the past month. So it's not like the Bucks are getting any better on defense. Their defense is still terrible. In Donovan Mitchell, he averages over 20 shot attempts per game, almost 10 from deep. So even with how well he's been scoring recently, I still like riding with him to go over. Sorry. Excuse me. Again, this could end up being as square as they come, but I think it's a really good one. So obviously we are locking it in. David H., maybe the square play can be the pesto play. That's a good point. We'll have to think about that. That's funny. All right. 5th play. We're almost halfway through today's slate. In the Rockets versus Knicks game, I'm taking Fred VanVleet under 8.5 assists. This is best offered -113 per the Betting Pros consensus line. This was a positive expected value play that I found on the Betting Pros app. Betting Pros projects him to have 7.5 assists, 1 full assist below what we are getting, and they give him a 66.2% chance of going under. And overall, this is a positive EV play of 24.8%. And I really like this one. It's a pretty tough matchup against the Knicks. They're a good defense, and they've just gotten better since they've acquired OG and Anunoby. They're 11th in terms of defensive net rating, but again, they've gotten better since the trade for OG. Excellent defender. And I will admit, if you look at the most recent games against the Knicks, they have given up a lot of assists to point guards. So it's not like their defense has been shutting down point guards recently, but that doesn't really scare me off on the year. They're allowing the 10th fewest assists per game to someone of VanVleet's playmaking style. Yeah, that's not the best. That's not Timberwolves level, but still top 3rd, top 10 is still very good. And VanVleet is just a high number. Granted, his potential assists are generally pretty good this year, but this is a number he's gone under in 6 of 10 games. And with this matchup, with how he's been playing recently, I like riding with the under once again. Before I get into the next pick, I've mentioned the app a couple times now. I want to talk to you about a 1-year premium subscription giveaway to the Betting Pros premium subscription. If you want to be entered for the 1-year premium subscription, all you have to do is subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Hopefully that's something that you're already doing. And then comment on this video below. That's how you can be entered. The premium subscription is a place where you can bet smart, not bet hard. Everybody knows in life, it's not about working hard. It's about working smart. So Betting Pros can help you with that, at least in your sports betting life. So again, subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and comment, and then make sure to turn notifications on so you can be notified when new episodes drop. And then you can come in and claim your prize if you get chosen. Definitely recommend doing that. It takes no work on your end. Just subscribe and comment, and you get entered. So we're halfway done. Next up, we're riding with another under. This is in the Heat versus Raptors game, and we're taking Pascal Siakam under 20.5 points, -110 odds at DraftKings. I'm not quite going to call this one a Pepto play, but this is definitely a little bit of a scarier one. Siakam has been playing well recently. He's gone over in 7 of his last 10 games. But with that said, in this matchup against the Heat, fading him is the way to go. The Heat are very good defensively. And unless you're someone who can bomb away from deep, who really attempts a lot of 3-pointers, it's just really hard to score. Now, yes, Siakam has been attempting more 3-pointers recently, 17 attempts combined in his last 3 games. But to me, that's more of an outlier than anything that I expect him to continue moving forward. The previous 3 games, he had only attempted a combined 5 3-pointers. And if you're consistently trying to score from the inside, mid-range, getting to the rim, that's very, very difficult against the Heat. They've given up the second fewest points per game, specifically to power forwards over the past month. That's what Siakam, that's his position. And then if you want to look at the center position, who obviously centers also generally aren't bombing away from deep and they're generally scoring from the inside. In the past month, the Heat have given up the 7th fewest points per game specifically to centers. If you want to take it even a step further, there are websites out there that allow you to isolate a player's scoring profiles, not only their position, but how they score. And the Heat give up literally the fewest points per game to someone of Siakam's scoring profile, which fits basically everything we've said. So based on the way he's been playing, it's a little bit scary, but based on the matchup, it's not as scary. He did crush this over the last time the Heat and the Raptors played, but that doesn't scare me off. I still think the under is the way to go tonight. That is our 6th pick. Next up, Hornets versus Pelicans game. We're taking Zion Williamson, 25 plus points, plus 140 odds at DraftKings. Now, the Banchero play, that was the flip-flop method. This is basically the opposite of that. This is kind of more similar to the Donovan Mitchell play, where Zion has been phenomenal the past 2 games. He scored 30 points, exactly 30 points in 2 straight games. But kind of similar to Donovan Mitchell prior to that, Zion had gone under 25 points in 3 of his past 4 games. So it's not like he's been consistently smashing this over. And this is kind of similar to the Siakam play, just the opposite, where Zion's scoring profile matches up with how the wording of this is let me rephrase that. The way that Zion scores makes the Hornets defense a very, very juicy matchup. They're very weak at defending the ways in which Zion scores. Now, despite the fact that Zion is listed as a power forward, he more so scores like a center, more so than even the starting center for the Pelicans and Valanciunas. Zion, basically 90% of his baskets come at the rim, layup, dunk, tip in, something like that. Whereas Valanciunas, he does more of his damage from a jumper perspective with his back to the basket, jumpers, hooks, stuff like that. And the Hornets are a defense that you want to target for guys who attack the rim like Zion. Over the past month, the Hornets have given up the most points per game specifically to centers, which I know Zion's a power forward, plays more like a center than his own center on his own team does. And the Hornets give up the 2nd most points per game to someone of Zion's shooting profile, someone that attacks the rim. Only the Spurs are worse. And if the Spurs are the only team that's worse than you, that's very bad. So despite the fact that Zion has gone off 2 games in a row, I'm hoping that he can go off in a 3rd game in a row in a very, very juicy matchup at home. So I like this one a lot. Hopefully Zion comes through for us. Now we're 7 picks deep, and I've mentioned a bunch of times about the Betting Pros app. I just want to dial that in a little bit. You can find it, bettingpros.com/apps. Again, link to that is in the description of the video. The way that I use the app the most is I use the prop bet cheat sheet. So you can find Betting Pros recommended picks based on the current lines that the sportsbooks are offering, and then the Betting Pros projections. So whenever you hear me say Betting Pros projects player X to score this many points, that's found on the prop bet cheat sheet. And then I also think it's cool you can sort by highest percent of positive EV play if you're just looking for value. Maybe you're looking for more of a parlay piece. You can filter by highest percent chance that this bet actually hits, according to Betting Pros. If you're like me and you're like pumping up props, sort by the biggest difference between the Betting Pros projections and the sportsbooks over-unders. Plenty of ways you can find value here. I also lock in every single play that I have on the app. Bettingpros.com/Modi is where you can find my profile. You can sign up for a free trial of the premium offering. So again, I know we're doing a giveaway. You can also sign up for a free trial. And then it syncs directly with your sports books, which I think is super cool. So you don't need to manually go ahead and track anything. It syncs directly with them. I see Manuel is taking the Zion prop at 21.5 points. That's totally fair. If you're not comfortable pumping up the numbers like I do, that's definitely something that you can do. MIC Bam over 2.5 first quarter rebounds. To be honest, I don't have much about that one. First quarter props are always a little bit scary. And I haven't really dug into that one, so I don't want to comment one way or another without being informed. Sorry for the cop out, but I don't want to give out stuff just for the sake of doing it. So, all right, we have 3 picks left to go. The first one of the last 3 is in the Mavericks versus Lakers game. I'm taking Luka Doncic over 33.5 points, -110 odds at DraftKings. Now, this is another play. Technically, the positive EV play on Betting Pros was him scoring over 32.5 points, but Betting Pros projects him to score over 34. So I took it 1 point higher to get better odds. Granted, we're still not getting a plus money banger odds with this one, but -110 is better than -130, -135. Now, Luka is still injured, and he's currently listed as questionable. But if he ends up getting ruled out, this play gets refunded, no harm, no foul. Prior to this game, Luka has missed 3 straight games with an ankle injury, but he's trending in the right direction. The first 2 games, he was just immediately ruled out. The third game, he was listed as doubtful and then obviously ended up not playing. So the questionable tag is actually an improvement for him. And if he does play against the Lakers, this is just as juicy as a matchup as you can get for someone like Luka. Another way, if you're not comfortable with his points, let's say he doesn't play a full allotment of minutes, another way you can target Luka is by targeting his 3-point props. You can get him to make 5+ at +175 odds. So just another way there. The Lakers are listed as the second best matchup for point guards when it comes to point guard point props, and the second best matchup when it comes to point guard 3-point props as well. If Luka plays, it's a smash spot for him. Prior to this injury, he had gone over 33.5 points in 7 of his last 10 games, including a 50-burger in there on Christmas against the Suns, which was a much, much more difficult matchup than the Lakers. Yeah, he's played the Lakers twice this year, and he's gone under both times. But if he ends up suiting up tonight, I think that's going to change. I love targeting Luka's over both his points and 3-point props. We're only going to track the points because that's my official play, but as an honorable mention, 3-pointers is good as well. 2 picks left. Next up, in the Warriors versus Jazz game, I'm taking Jordan Clarkson, over 18.5 points, -120 odds, best offered per the Betting Pros consensus. The Jazz have been on fire. If you want a hint, I think they win and cover this game. They're like 9-1 in their last 10 games, and they especially don't lose at home. But we're targeting Jordan Clarkson because of another matchup play. The Warriors' defense is horrible at containing small jitterbug-type guards like Jordan Clarkson. He's listed as a shooting guard. This applies to both point guards and shooting guards. It's more about the player type than it is the specific position. It's well-rounded guards who can space the floor, but are also effective scoring in the pick and roll, in the mid-range. He's generally good at driving, but he doesn't attack the rim and get fouled. But that's not where the defense is weak. Looking at shooting guards specifically, just to kind of dial into that position, the Warriors are giving up the most points per game specifically to shooting guards in the entire NBA, and they're listed as the easiest matchup for shooting guard point props in the NBA as well. And Clarkson's been playing really well recently. This is not a super fade of recent results. He missed it last game, so immediate results, yes. But the game in which he missed last game, that was against the Pacers. And against the Pacers, you do want to target guys who aggressively attack the rim. That's not Jordan Clarkson. Prior to the last game, he had cashed in 4 straight games and in 6 of 8. Now, he hit this in all 3 of his games against the Warriors last year. Obviously, that you don't want to put too much stock into that because last year is a different season for everybody involved. But he did cash it in all 3 against the Warriors last year. Even without that, I think he's going to have a good game. I expect him to have a good game, I should say, cashing over 18.5. I see in the comments bumped up to 19.5. I would take that as well. I think 20 plus really is something that I think is what I would lock in. So I'm comfortable with that play. And then last up, our 10th and final pick of this stream, we're taking, this is in the Nets Blazers game, I should say. We're taking Mikal Bridges over 3.5 assists, +1 at 14 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Now, this was a play that I found using the Betting Pros app. This is a 4-star play. I generally try to only play 5-star plays, but I looked into this one and I liked it so much that I still decided to roll with it. It's not like 4-star means it's not a positive EV play. It's just not as high. It's an 18.1% positive EV play. Betting Pros gives Bridges a 54.7% chance of going over 3.5 assists. And that's great because we're getting it for plus money. Now, obviously, Bridges isn't LeBron. He's not known as a forward that's a very good playmaker by any means. But we only need him to get the 4 assists, so we're kind of paying for that. And 4 assists is something that he can do in this matchup. Now, this is not a play where we're targeting a win percentage. The win percentage is not in our favor. This is more of a matchup play than anything. Bridges has only gone over this number in 2 of his last 10 games. Granted, in 4 of those games he missed, he had exactly 3, which, yes, is still an under. And then, of course, you're more likely to get hooked the lower the numbers are. So complaining about a hook when you're taking an over-under of 3.5 isn't exactly fair. Only point I'm trying to make is that he has been getting close. On the entire year, he's averaging 3.6 assists per game, but he's averaging 6.7 potential assists. If you look at guys around him that are averaging 6.7 potential assists per game, majority of them average above 4 assists per game. So there is a little bit of bad luck with the with guys not hitting shots that Bridges passes to. But as I mentioned, this is a great matchup against the Blazers. They give up the most assists per game to someone that has a playmaking style like Bridges. And all that means he doesn't orchestrate the offense. He doesn't run a ton of super complex sets or anything like that, but he can run the pick and roll. He can pass the ball to a rolling big man. He can kick it out to a shooter. The easy reads he can do. And that's where the Blazers will allow forwards to do that, to rack up a ton of assists against them. So for plus 114, the value there is pretty good. Hopefully we can get it to cash as our 10th and final pick of the slate. And that is all we got. 10 picks for you guys to lock in. Make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel if you are not already. Hopefully you already have. You can find me basically any social media at Jedi Modi. And that's all we got. So hopefully we have a good day today. I'll catch you guys on Friday, and happy betting.